Welcome back to Apex Sci-Fi. In the vast, lonely reaches of the galaxy, despair is a powerful recruitment tool. When a colony is forgotten by the hegemony, or a world is ravaged by war, people look for a way out. They look for meaning in the void. And that is where the Archon finds them. The Archon is the leader of the Singularity cult, a fanatical movement that believes a massive spatial rift in the Viridian sector is actually a gateway to a higher dimension, a place of eternal light where pain and poverty do not exist. To the rest of the galaxy, the rift is a gravitational anomaly that crushes anything it touches into subatomic dust. But the Archon is a master of the silver tongue. He has convinced 10,000 followers to gather at the edge, a temple built on the very lip of the rift. He has told them that on the next celestial alignment, they will all ascend by stepping into the void together. Silas Vane was hired by a coalition of families whose loved ones had been brainwashed by the cult. The contract was the most difficult of his career: extract the Archon. But there was a condition: Vane could not harm a single follower. If even one drop of innocent blood was spilled, the contract was void, and Vane would be branded a mass murderer by the cult's legal defense team. To the Archon, the crowd was his shield. He knew that the hegemony wouldn't fire on 10,000 civilians. He thought he was untouchable. He didn't know Silas Vane. Vane arrived on the planet eventide not with fire but with silence. He didn't land the Vesper near the temple. He parked it in high orbit, using the ship's grav anchors to remain stationary. Vane descended via a wingsuit, gliding through the thin, cold air of the cliffside like a predatory bird. He landed on the roof of the great cathedral just as the ascension ceremony was beginning. He was wearing his Inquisitor gear, a suit designed for crowd control and psychological intimidation. But the mask remained the same: the obsidian glass and the single cold blue visor line. Vane looked down from the rafters. The scene was haunting. Thousands of people, mothers, fathers, children, were kneeling in a trance-like state. The Archon stood at the edge of the rift, his golden armor reflecting the violet light of the Singularity. He was broadcasting a low-frequency sonic hum that resonated with the human brain's peace receptors. He wasn't just talking to them, he was hacking their emotions. "Do you see the light?" The Archon's voice boomed through the temple's massive speakers. "Do you feel the pull of the beyond? Step forward, my children. Leave the weights of this world behind." The crowd began to stand. They were shuffling toward the edge of the cliff, their eyes vacant and joyful. Vane didn't draw a gun. He drew a specialized acoustic inverter. He knew that if he tried to fight his way through the crowd, they would tear him apart to protect their profit. He had to break the trance, not the people. He dropped from the rafters, landing silently behind the back row of kneeling cultists. He didn't move toward the Archon. He moved toward the temple's sound system. With a few quick strikes of his vibroblade, Vane sliced the primary power lines. The Archon's soothing hum vanished, replaced by a jarring, high-pitched screech from Vane's inverter. The effect was immediate. The vacant joy in the follower's eyes was replaced by confusion and sudden, sharp headaches. The trance was broken, but the panic was just beginning. "Blasphemy!" the Archon screamed, drawing a decorative but functional energy sword. "The demon is among us. Stop him. Protect the gate." The cultists turned toward Vane. They didn't have weapons, but 10,000 bodies are a weapon of their own. They surged forward, a tidal wave of white robes. Vane didn't flinch. He used his non-lethal sound cannon, firing a wave of concussive air that pushed the crowd back without breaking bones. He moved through the throng like a ghost, using his cloak to vanish and reappear, disorienting the attackers. He wasn't fighting them, he was navigating them. He reached the altar. The Archon lunged with his sword, but Vane was a human who had spent his life fighting monsters. He caught the Archon's wrist, twisted it until the sword fell into the abyss, and slammed the prophet against the stone railing. "Your ascension is cancelled." Vane's voice was a low, mechanical growl. The Archon laughed, his face twisted in mania. "It doesn't matter. They will still jump. I have planted the seed. Look at them." He was right. Even without the hum, some of the most fanatical followers were still edging toward the rift, their minds too far gone to be saved by a simple sound burst. Vane looked at the crowd, then at the Vesper orbiting above. He signaled his ship. "Vesper," Vane commanded. "Initiate the flashbang protocol. Spectrum Alpha." High above, the Vesper fired a series of magnesium flares directly into the upper atmosphere. The sky over the temple turned from violet to a blinding, artificial white, the color of a sun. At the same time, Vane's ship broadcast a recording he had made earlier, the sound of a hegemony rescue fleet sirens, amplified 1,000 times. To the followers, the ascension was suddenly interrupted by what looked like a divine intervention, or a military invasion. The fear of the unknown replaced the desire for the void. They stopped. They cowered. They looked away from the rift. In the confusion, Vane slapped a stasis cuff on the Archon and attached a high-speed extraction cable to his own belt. "Going up," Vane said. The cable tightened, and Vane, along with the captured Archon, was yanked into the sky, soaring away from the temple and toward the Vesper. Below them, the spatial rift pulsed one last time before the celestial alignment passed. The gateway closed, leaving behind only a cold, empty cliffside and 10,000 people who were suddenly violently awake. Vane delivered the Archon to the families who had hired him. He didn't take him to the hegemony. He knew the Archon's lawyers would have him out in a week. He delivered him to a remote, high-security rehabilitation colony where the Archon would spend the rest of his life listening to the testimonies of the people he had tried to kill. In the legends of the Viridian sector, they say the Hunter was a dark angel who saved the world from a golden devil. They say Silas Vane is the only one who can stand in a crowd of 10,000 enemies and not harm a single soul. But Vane doesn't feel like an angel. He just sits in the cockpit of the Vesper, the violet dust of the rift still on his cloak, looking for the next signal in the dark. This has been Apex Sci-Fi. Faith can move mountains, but the hunter moves the prophet. If you enjoyed Vane's psychological rescue, hit that like button. Comment below. Why do you think people are so easily drawn to charismatic leaders in the dark? Subscribe for the next hunt, the Shadow Mirror. The Vesper is back in the dark. The hunt continues.